Welcome to The Dream Journal. From the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz, The Dream Journal is a weekly show where we explore the power of nighttime dreams through conversations with dream experts and with listeners like you. A dream can be meaningful even if you don't know what it means. And today's music is called Eroding the Night. Dreams are crazy, but aren't they also guidance? Our guest, Sandi Madison, will help us find sense in the nonsense of our dreams and argues that the best self-help book that we can ever read is our own dream journal. Stay tuned to find out more. I am your host, Catherine Bell of Experiential Dreamwork, and welcome to The Dream Journal. We will be taking call-ins during the last 30 minutes of the show. You can also email us anytime at onair@ksqd.org. All right, we have an in-studio guest today. Such a rare and a wonderful occurrence. I'm so grateful, Sandi, that you got to fly down from Seattle to be with us all today. I'd like to say hello to Sandi Madison. Hello.
Well, thank you. It's really an honor to be here, Catherine. I'm excited to finally get to meet you.
Excellent. So Sandi Madison shares her intuitive and experiential approach to dream work. Her journey into self-discovery, told through her dream life, is the rich source of material from which was born her book, Diving Before Dawn, a dream exploration. Her ardent desire is to help others utilize dreams as inner guidance. You can find her at sandimadison.com. as SANDI, Madison.com, and on Instagram at Sandi Madison Author. Okay, so good to have you here, Sandi. And so let's get right into it. Why bother to keep a dream journal?
Well, it's just from the practice that I've had over the past 55 years. I had the opportunity to go through all my dream journals when I moved recently. I found 38 years of my dream journals in an old black antique clothes hamper. Oh. And when I was moving, I realized, they're all in one spot. And then during the pandemic, I had the opportunity to go through all of them because I was pretty isolated, right at first, during that first summer. So I went through 38 years of dream journals.
Wow.
And as I looked through them, first I put them in order, and then I started looking through them, and I saw a lot of interesting maturation that had happened over 38 years.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of themes that were reoccurring themes through my dreams. But I also realized how much information that I was getting nightly. I mean, I've always known that. I've known that I've had precognitive dreams. I know that my dreams have meaning for me, and I'm a very, I would say, introspective person. So it's not unusual for me to look for meaning. It's not unusual for me to be always trying to figure out, what the metaphor and things. But I realize that everyone dreams, and so everyone has access to that level of information nightly. Mm-hmm. And so the being able to keep a dream journal and review it, I think that's probably the most important part, is taking the time to go back over and look at your dreams. One of the things I noticed very clearly was that a lot of times dreams will unfold. They will have the meaning, the significant meaning when you first write it down. you look at it, you might think it's just ridiculous. And so then you don't, like, honestly, it took me quite a while to train myself to write my dreams down, because they would just seem so inane. Like, why would I even bother? That's like the stupidest thing I ever heard, right? Like, why bother? And then I started training myself to do it. And then once I did, I realized, like, after a couple of days, the meaning might not be right present in the moment. But if I reflect back on it later in the day or a couple days later, I'm like, oh my goodness, there was so much insight in that, you just get a little bit away from it and then you can see it a little more clearly.
I love that. So Sandi, I'd love to have some examples. Could you maybe give a little bit of an example of like a dream theme that recurred over time and that maybe evolved over time? Because I'm really fascinated by this idea that dreams reflect and maybe they also enhance our evolution. So I'm curious about like a recurring theme and how it evolved over time.
Yeah, one of the recurring themes that I found, well, there's quite a few. There was one theme that continued. I started having dreams about polarity in 2021, and I noticed that in my book.
You mean like black and white? What do you mean
polarity? The concept of polarity kept coming to me. And at first, especially when I started reviewing all the dreams for the book, the concept of polarity started in 2001.
So what do you say a little more? What do you mean by polarity?
Okay, so for instance, here was a dream.
Okay,
all right.
Perfect.
The dream was I'm in a trailer with my family, and I'm in the kitchen with my mom, and I'm telling my mom a storm is coming. And my mom's like, whatever. She looks out the window, there's no storm. And I'm like, I tell her 3 times, no, there's a storm coming. Nobody listens to me. And then all of a sudden we get hit. The trailer just goes up into the air. We're flying around like a tornado. And then it crashes and I'm fine, but it's total darkness. And I'm standing there in absolute total darkness. And in my mind, what I hear is what I see as I see the infinity sign.
Yeah.
And in my head, I hear the words. It says, "Go to the place of least polarity." And I see that that's the very center of the infinity sign. That was one of the first dreams I had about polarity.
So literally polarity.
And it didn't make sense to me in 2021, except for that I always knew that I needed to be safe. I needed to go to a neutral point. And so, but then there are quite a few dreams that happened after that, and they're listed in my book, about how there was... And then it became just about polarity in general. And then after that, on the political scene, there started to be quite a bit of polarity.
Yeah, that's true.
And then, so I've always been cautious about it. And at the same time, I feel like my dreams have been guideposts for me for how to maneuver through some of these really difficult times. Another theme that was reoccurring was I had dreams, and in my book, it's a section that I called spiritual renewal. And I started having dreams about learning to levitate.
Oh, wow.
And so I would, the very first dream, I'm with my friend Sue, and we're holding this stick, and we learn to kind of like levitate over just a small stream, and I'm like getting that little sensation of it, And then as the dreams occur over a span of 38 years, I'm levitating in my dreams, and I'm being able to do all these different things, right? And there was one dream in particular with levitating that I thought was hilarious, because in the dream, it came to me that I was levitating specifically for 17 seconds.
Okay, 17 seconds?
17 seconds. Like, okay, whatever.
Right.
And telling you so many times I get dreams that have very specific information that doesn't really make sense to me at the time or whatever, but I always write it down. 17 seconds. And recently, there is I forget his name now, but he's a neurophysicist, and he was talking about the 17-second rule.
Oh, what's that?
The 17-second rule is it takes 17 seconds for something to get, like, really to reset and to become part of your reality. You have to like kind of focus on it for like 17 seconds.
Okay. So like for a human being, you have to really focus on something for 17 seconds to take it in?
Yes, right. For it to kind of create like the right neural pathway.
Oh, interesting.
And so I just thought it was hilarious because I was like, I always wondered about what was that 17 seconds? Why would it be 17?
Right.
So specific.
Interesting. So,
you know, yeah.
And yet there's this verification by the scientist.
I have found that so many times in my dreams. Things that I have no inkling about. Like I've had just crazy dreams. Everybody has crazy dreams, but I'm always wanting to explore meaning. So once they come to me, and there could be things like for about 18 years, I had a plant nursery. And I experimented around. I germinated everything from seed. Like 600 different species. I played around with, it was just fascinating for me, and it was fun to do. And then after my husband died, I wasn't able to keep my business going and work at the high school, like as a career and college counselor. So I gave up my plant business. And I had a dream in the dream, this was so bizarre. In the dream, I was in Costa Rica going to a conference. And I was leaving before I had a chance to explore. And I was on a boat, and we were leaving Costa Rica and going back out onto the ocean. And we passed by a hillside, and on the hillside, coming down out of the hillside, were all of these tappers. And
tappers?
Yeah, they're this weird animal. I had no idea.
I've never heard of that.
Neither had I, ever.
Huh.
But in my mind, I wrote the dream out. That's what it did. They came down to greet us at the shoreline, and a whole bunch of them. They all came down, and as we floated out, they were down there greeting us. And I was just like, oh my goodness.
I don't even know. Are those birds or mammals? What the heck are tappers?
They're a mammal that looks something like they have a long snout. And I know they're very interesting. I looked them up, right? I'm like, Costa Rica? I've never been to Costa Rica. I clearly have never been to a conference in Costa Rica, right? Tappers are in Costa Rica.
Oh, they are. Okay.
I didn't know that. But then when I researched them, they are instrumental in spreading seed.
Oh, your whole seed business.
My whole seed business. And here I was leaving Costa Rica without a chance to explore, because I was in the dream, the way I interpreted it, when I found that out, I was like extremely honored that this animal spirit had come to me.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And was acknowledging that there's a level of infinity, and that, and also acknowledging that, I was feeling regretful that I didn't get to continue in that, in that vein.
So I love that. So they kind of got some comforting from the
very much
from that. And so I'm wondering if you could give us some pointers, like how do you start to make sense of these dreams? Like, because they're, in the book often you'll say a dream and then you'll talk about your associations to the dream, but it's not always obvious to me what the connection is. And so how do you recommend people make sense of their dreams? What have you found that works?
It's very personal.
Yeah.
Because the meaning's going to be significantly different for, however you are aspected to the information.
Yeah.
So I think that the most important thing for me has always been, I'm a curious person. And so I always want to explore. So as soon as I get something that I don't quite understand, I'll look it up. And, it could be Google, reference book. Like when I first started dreaming, keeping track of my dreams, it was back in the 70s. I mean, the first dream I started really tracking was when I was 16.
Oh, wow.
And that's when I realized how much information was present in dreams, and that it was really something I needed to start paying attention to. And then I lived off the grid for 18 years in 2 different time spans. One, the first time for 12 years, and the second time recently for 6 years. And so the first time that I was living off the grid out in the woods, it was back in the 70s, and it was before the internet, and you could just look anything up. And I've always been a curious person. In fact, as a kid, my dream job was to be a reference librarian so that I could just look, I could have access to everything. And so I would, before internet, I would, if you wanted to know, if you were curious about something, you had to write out a slip and bring it to your local library, give it to the librarian. They would send it into the reference department, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, you would get your piece of information.
2 or 3 weeks later?
Yes.
Wow.
Because that's how it worked before the internet.
That's true, microfiche. Yes, I remember some of that. Yeah.
And so, but I was undaunted, I would always, whatever I was curious about, and a lot of times things I was curious about came to me from my dreams. There would be references and things in my dream that I didn't understand, so I would ask for clarification. Now it's so much easier. You can just look stuff up on the internet, or there's so many incredible dream dictionaries and stuff out there, as you're aware of. But even with that, it's a personal application. Like sometimes it makes vivid sense to you.
So that's part of the way of recognizing is the vivid sense.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Like this is correct. This feels right.
So yes.
So we really have to pay attention to this inner feeling in relation to this bits of information that we're uncovering, right?
Totally. Okay. You're always just looking for, where's the affinity? I don't know. I'm into tarot. I give myself tarot readings and stuff, and you look up a lot of the information, and sometimes the significance, the metaphor, will be really, really. There's going to be one of the definitions that they're speaking of that just resonates in 2 seconds. You're like, oh, that's it. That's exactly what it means. Like, I had a dream, one of the shortest dreams in my book, which just cracked me up. It's like one of my favorite. It was about, waking up in the morning, and the dream was something about a winning as a woman, and I have a bag of moldy oranges to prove it.
Oh, no.
And you're like, what was that, right? And it was like, I wrote it down, and my book has several artists that contributed to it, and one of the images that goes with that dream in the book is from one of my favorites from Andrea Evantoff, and it's this woman who's like, her hair's all cut up in a vacuum. She's like, obviously winning as a woman, right? And but the whole thing about being moldy oranges,
yeah, that
orange.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah, well, so I'm a woman. I'm holding the bag. I'm left holding the bag, right?
Okay.
That's all I have left to prove is this moldy bag of oranges, right? And orange is creativity. And orange is, for me, is like being, exhibiting your creativity. And when I look back at that, it's like, oh, okay. At that point in my life, I was at a crossroads in feeling very stifled in the work that I was doing. Like I wasn't able to fully show up with the potential that I had. And I was like feeling very frustrated. And then metaphorically, That's how the dream shows up.
So it's like if the orange is moldy, it's like I didn't get to, and the orange is creativity, it's like I didn't get to use my creativity. I didn't get to eat it. I didn't get to consume it, use what it was for. And so they got moldy.
It's starting to rot.
Oh, no.
Because it's not being used.
So that's a kind of disturbing image, and yet you got this sense that you needed to use your creativity more. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Yeah.
It became, it was like my subconscious was telling me how frustrated I was and that there was untapped potential.
Yeah, okay. So that's a great example of how a really short dream, like a fragment, a snippet, a nugget, that very short dream can be a very powerful impact. Because it sounds like that really woke up something in you.
Oh, yeah.
So like you like to say that the dreams are, your dream journal is your best self-help book possible. And that sounds like a wonderful example of that.
Yeah, I've just like over the years, like the things that I wouldn't necessarily allow myself to acknowledge come to me in dreams and grab my attention, and then I have to really look at that. Like a recent example, I had another interview recently, and it cracked me up because a recent example, I've been working on publishing the book for like 5 years. And I was getting frustrated because it's nonfiction, and just it was an arduous procedure. And everybody's telling me that I needed to have a platform. And I'm like, a platform? Like, oh, God. And like, oh, no, you need to have a especially if you want to publish a nonfiction book, you are pretty much guaranteed you have to have a platform.
Oh, wow.
Because you have to have a following. You already have to have a name. You have to be a given that people want to, publishers aren't going to pick you up if you're not going to make them money, right?
Yeah.
And so, and everybody was saying, well, if you want to do this, you need a platform. And I was so resistant to it because I lived off the grid for so long that none of that stuff mattered to me. I wasn't engaged with it, and I just didn't want to be engaged with it. And then I had a dream that actually kind of disturbed me, because in the dream I was, and this was a recent dream, like last October, I had gone shopping with friends, and I'm not a huge consumer, but so a lot of times I'll be with my friends just tagging along while they're shopping. So we're in a big city, I'm tagging along, and we're at a shoe store. Okay. And I'm looking around at shoes, and I'm looking at varieties of different kinds and thinking, yeah, no, those don't work. And then I realize that, I need a pair of boots, that knee-high boots. That's what I need. And I go see the sales lady, and I ask her for the boots. If do you have any boots? And so she shows way up on a shelf that's higher than I could reach are the boots, and she gets some down and she shows them to me, and they are these hideous platform boots that have gigantic 12-inch platforms, and I am disgusted by them in the dream.
Oh, platform.
Hello.
Oh, my God.
And and it's so funny because when I'm pulling the dream back, right, I'm just writing it down, like, platform boots, and like, my whole life I've thought they were just disgusting, and here I'm like 5'1", if anybody could probably wear platform boots, it would be me, right? Right. But I'm like, those are just hideous. I've always had an aversion to them. So she shows me these boots, and I'm like completely dumbfounded, like, no. And I wake up from that, and I'm like, why did I have such a strong reaction to that? Yeah. I mean, it was a very gut reaction, like just disgusted. But then I'm writing the dream out, and when I got to platform and the thing, I started laughing hysterical. Yes. I'm like, oh my God, Sandi, you have such an aversion to platform. Right. And then I realized, now, am I having this dream because I shouldn't be doing a platform, because I don't feel it's authentic, and that's why I have an aversion to it? Or should I be looking at why I have an aversion to it?
Right.
And so I was kind of in a conundrum about it. And then the next night, I had another dream.
Okay.
And the dream was I have a friend who is very adamant about whatever conundrum she's in. She is not open to any kind of advice about how to get out of her conundrum. Mm-hmm. And as soon as you even try to mention something, she just shoots you down like with a machine gun. Like, she's not having any of it. No, that's never going to happen.
This is the character in the dream.
In the dream.
Right.
She's at my house, and her stuff's everywhere. Oh. And I'm in the dream going, I got to get her stuff out of my house, right?
Yeah.
And I wake up and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. Here's somebody who has an aversion to advice that people are giving them. And, I totally related to that dream. Like, I need to pay attention. And I need to, look at why I have such a strong aversion and get over it.
I have to say, Sandi, that this is something I love, that I've always believed that the dreams show us where we're at. And it's helpful to recognize where we're at and how we feel about where we're at before we can take that step forward. Because your dream didn't immediately say, oh, Instagram or whatever it is. But it just said, okay, this is what I feel like. Like, I feel like I'm just not available. I don't want to do this. And so the dream really gave you an opportunity to feel that.
That's true. And I think dreams for me are all about feeling. Yeah. I mean, even just trying to pull them back is, I learned a long time ago, you just have to, because they're so ephemeral, the second you wake up, and they can click off in an instant. And so being able to just kind of lay there, and for me, the key has always been the feeling. Where was I just floating? What was the sensation that I just feel in my body? And that's what I try to pull back. Mm-hmm. That will help me get back into my dreams.
So starting by with the feeling. I often try to go with the image, but let me try that a little bit to go with, because sometimes I do have a feeling when I wake up. And sometimes you're saying you can recreate your dream from that. You can bring the dream back in.
I can do it that way. I think, everybody's like a different kind of learner. I'm a very, my goodness, I'm also into astrology. If you're into astrology, I'm like a huge water signs, so I'm all about feelings. That's my whole kind of way of of maneuvering around in the world. So, of course, for me, it's going to be feeling. And you might be a real visual person, and you might get your information through, images. That's how you would connect to it.
Maybe so. I mean, I'm a Gemini, so I think maybe sometimes there's words, but images, are very, very important for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I appreciate that there's many different ways to do that, but I haven't tried the feeling thing, and I've gotten much more. I found my feelings much more valuable than I used to. I used to, when I was a closed off NASA scientist, I was like, feelings don't matter. Oh. But now I'm really starting to recognize them, feel my feelings. And so I want to experiment with this. Maybe a way of expanding my dream vocabulary.
Well, for me, it's really important to, especially if it doesn't just come flooding back, then I'll lay there and just try to drift awake, and key into where's this sensation, where is it in my body, and name it, and then just kind of lay there, and then if I can hold that feeling and just let it expand a little bit more, then it starts to pull back those images that will come back to me. And it was like, oh my God. And then sometimes they just flood in, and then you're like, oh my God, get my paper out.
Right.
Because there's so much there. And then sometimes it's just, like I said, just a snippet or just a sensation. Sometimes it's just a color. Like I will have remembered just this really bright color. Or I went through this whole sequence of dreams about octagons, hexagons. Sorry, it was the yes. Okay. It was a sensation of I just kept seeing images of hexagons. and I had dreams of hexagons for weeks, and then it made me curious, like, what is a hexagon? How are they in nature? What do they perform? You know what I mean? Like, what is it about that's so? Why do I need to know this?
Well, snowflake is the first thing that comes up for me. But what did you find? What was?
It was like bees. The honeycomb.
Yep.
The honeycomb is like one of the images in geometry that's like the most stable.
Yeah.
It's like and there's just so many fascinating things about it. It shows up in so many different iterations.
And what was it meaning? How was it meaningful to you? Did it connect to your life?
It was about information. Yeah, it was about me. Like, I was getting a ton of information at that time, and it was like I had the image of me getting information through octagons, like it was my navel.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
And so it might, like, to me it makes sense.
Right.
To other people it might just be like, oh my God, she's really crazy. But hey,
that's what matters, though. It's the dreamer. It's the sense to the dreamer is what matters.
Yeah, and I get some of those dreams that to me are just like so profound. Mm-hmm. And everybody has those dreams that stay with you for a lifetime.
Right. Oh, that's so true.
Yeah.
So, Sandi, we need to take a short break, and this has been a fabulous conversation. My guest today is Sandi Madison. Her book is called Diving Before Dawn, A Dream Exploration. You can get in touch with her at sandimadison.com, SANDI, sandimadison.com, and Instagram, Sandi Madison Author. We are broadcast live from the KSQD studios in Santa Cruz and co-broadcast live in San Jose by KCXU and podcast everywhere. Also, we're now broadcast even Saturdays at KOWS up in Sonoma as well. After the break, we have a special guest here in the studio, and we'll be opening the phone to your calls. We will be right back. You are listening to the Dream Journal, and I am Catherine Bell of Experiential Dreamwork. I'd like to send out a special welcome to our far-flung listeners who are streaming live all over California, Santa Cruz, Aptos, San Jose, Sunnyvale, Union City, Martinez, Whittier, down in Whittier. Thank you for listening in. Olympia, Washington, Seattle, Washington, Camano, Washington, British Columbia, Ontario, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, Quebec, HU, that must be Hungary, I do believe, and CN, I think that's another Canada. Oh, is that actually China? Oh, I think it is China. Thank you so much for listening. Glad to have you on the air and just listening with us, because there is really a worldwide interest in dreams, and the Dream Journal would like to spread that interest and get more people paying attention to their dreams, as we've been talking about here with Sandi, that just paying attention to your dreams can really open you up to a world of growth and lead you to a better life. So please follow the Dream Journal on your favorite podcast app. And if you're inspired, please leave a rating or a review. It really helps. But most importantly, tell your friends. The mission of the show is to get people talking about dreams. And let's start with you, the one who's listening right now. Telling your friends about the podcast could be a chance to talk about dreaming. You can go to Facebook or Instagram and find about upcoming shows and pod drops by following hashtag The Dream Journal and at Experiential Dreamwork. Also, please do contact me if you'd like to be a guest on the show to talk about a new book or to tell folks about your dream-related offerings. I'd love to uplift my fellow dream people. Next week, we welcome local Santa Cruz therapist and wise ager, Dr. Ilana Berger. She likes to say, "You're not breaking, you are ripening." Tune in to learn about the spirituality of aging. I think that's going to be a wonderful show. And today's guest is Sandi Madison, and we're talking about her book, Diving Before Dawn. And we're talking about the power of dream journals. And one of the lovely things about this book is that it has several dozen illustrations. And we are fortunate enough to have in the studio with us one of the artists who created some of the illustrations in the book, some of the paintings. And would you like to, Sandi, can you introduce Carrie? You'll have to probably share a mic.
Sure.
You know what? Let's try this one.
I'd be happy to introduce Carrie. Carrie's a very dear friend of mine.
Yeah.
She's she's one of the people who's encouraged me to even think about publishing a book. I talked to her about it. We've collaborated on different art projects previously. And so she's always a go-to person for me for creativity. I think she's kind of off the charts creative. And so I was happy to work with her on the book. There's 33 original works of art in the book, and they're color illustrations from lots of different mediums. And there's some that's her work that she did earlier, and then there's some very specific ones that she created for specific dreams, which I thought was so generous and kind of her.
So she illustrated some of your dreams too.
Yes, she illustrated. She chose specific dreams that she illustrated in my book. Yes.
Oh, good. Thank you, Carrie. Glad to have you here.
Nice to be here, Catherine.
Oh, of course. I'm wondering what kind of medium did you use for the paintings? Are they acrylic or oils or?
Well, a variety. I've always been interested in trying different things. So some of my student work is in there. I got into symbolism in visual art in college, and some of my paintings lent themselves really well to the dream aspect of Sandi's book. One of my favorites is kind of a overlay of one perspective on a house over a different one. It creates kind of an uncomfortable composition visually, and in front of that are some women cut from paper, some paper dolls kind of blowing in the wind. And the whole color scheme is very kind of spare and different warm and cool blacks and whites, which at the time that I made it was related to how I was feeling about coming of age as a woman.
Oh, yeah.
And then worked just perfectly in Sandi's.
Well, that's the kind of topic a dream would definitely address, the feelings around transitions in life. And do you keep your own, a dream journal yourself as well? Do you follow your dreams?
No, although I really feel the need to. I don't keep a journal as of yet, but I definitely have gotten a lot of wisdom from my dreams. I am kind of like Sandi in that I wake with a feeling and pull it back that way, and have got some very specific advice from the dream realm that has been really useful.
Do you have an example you'd like to share with us?
Well, just recently I was having some frustration in my life, and was wondering if I would have to close off a part of what I do that I really love. And I don't remember the details of the dream, but I woke with the feeling of there being another way, a third way forward. And that it would be hard, but that I had the tools to make it happen. And I proceeded at a very slow pace to enact that in my life, and it's been the third way forward that was the most beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Dreams are sometimes like that. Even if I don't remember the dream, sometimes I wake up with like a sense of like, now I know the way forward. And I love that you had this third way. I'm going to share something that actually I was interviewed recently on a podcast by Brenda Balding, and she shared with me an acronym that she loves. It seems kind of appropriate right here. So it's the word pause, P-A-U-S-E, and which is perhaps another unexplored solution exists. And I just love that, because sometimes we think we have to decide A or B, but actually there's like X, Y, Z. There's like other solutions outside of that box. So,
And this particular problem, I had gone online and looked at forums of people who were dealing with similar situations, and the general advice was pretty clear, yes or no. So it was a time when I was falling asleep, really thinking about this issue, and then my dreams presented, hey, why is it just black and white? Why is it 1 or 0? It's not.
And what you're describing right there, Carrie, is what I like to think of as natural dream incubation, where whatever's on our mind is what takes us into sleep. And so then the dreams naturally start to work on that. And sometimes it's not the issue you think that was the most important issue. Is what I've discovered, though. I might have like something I'm worried about, like in my job or something, and then I wake up and I realize, oh, it's actually my relationship that's my issue. But in your case, the dream stayed with the issue that you were trying to resolve, and you found another solution.
Yeah, unasked.
Unasked, right. It's just like that. The brain just handed you one. It's like Dreammaker says, here you go. I can help with that. There's something valuable about sleeping. There's got to be some reason that we do that. The sleeping and dreaming that we do for millions of years, evolutionarily, is something valuable about it for sure. Yeah.
I mean, it's when our bodies heal themselves, right? That regeneration is happening on a physical level. So it makes sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that happen during sleep, and dreaming is only a part of sleeping. It's kind of important part. It's the only memorable part that we have, but there are other important parts about sleeping. It's just we need to have that off time. I think so. So, Carrie, thank you. Thank you. That's lovely. Do you have anything else, Sandi? Do you want to ask Carrie about the process, or anything else you want to get share with our listeners about working with Carrie?
Wow, just that she. I mean, like I said previously, she was just instrumental in encouraging me to even entertain the idea, and I just have always had a tremendous respect for her artwork. I mean, the breadth of art that she does. I always have thought of her as having like the Midas touch when it comes to creativity.
Oh, nice. Wow.
In the sense that nothing's off limits. Like we collaborated. I had my first collaboration with her was I used to do embroidery, but I didn't want to do an embroidery pattern. I just wanted to embroider something, and then I wanted to make these little dream pillows for all my little friends. And so I went to Carrie and said, "Oh, I want to make dream pillows for our little friends, but could you draw some cool picture of them that represents them and their characteristics and something special about them? If you draw that, I'll embroider it."
Okay. Wow.
These were our friends' children.
And so we made these, and I was blown away by her ability to capture the essence of them, and their, I give her an idea about let's make Isadora a fairy, and Cinder likes nuts and bolts, and you know what I mean. So she came up with these just creative concepts, and then I embroidered the pillows. Probably the funnest one we did was Sylvia's. Our little friend Sylvia, she was quite a character, and she still is. She's in her 20s now. And we turned her into a paper doll, and then I made a whole bunch of outfits for her, just all of her different personalities and stuff. So I mean, it was just so she's always just been a go-to person for anything. Sky's the limit,
Right. Fabulous. Love it. It's great to have those kind of allies in the world. Yeah. Thank you.
Sandi has been there for me through all of the milestones since we've met, so I couldn't do without her.
Fabulous. That's great. Oh, so glad that you could come down, Carrie, and Sandi too. Glad that you here. So I have another question for Sandi, which is, I'm wondering, what was it like to find your voice through writing this book? Because you took your dream journals and you talked about what a difficult thing was to find a publisher. And so how was that for you?
Well, the biggest issue for me was like I said, I'm a very introspective person, and although I have a really large social network, but I socialize kind of one-on-one mostly. Having unless you're really close with me, I don't usually divulge so much of myself. And the idea of publishing this book where it is like very personal was very frightening. It's like the antithesis of who I am and like what I would do. And so that was daunting, in itself. But I also realized that partially, we all have our Achilles heel. We all have that, our wounded healer, that part of ourselves that we've come here to heal. And for me, this book was part of my healing. It was the, so for instance, it's a book about dream journaling. It's a book about my adventure in dream journaling and why I have found it to be valuable and important. At the same time, there's things in my head where I'm like, oh, well, you're not an authority. You don't have a degree in Jungian psychology.
Oh, I got that voice too.
Yes. So like, what do you know about this, But what I found out from my own intuitive and experiential experience is that innately, I know, right? There's that gnosis, and that should just be as honored as somebody who has mastered it through an academic realm. And so, and don't be afraid to show up. Like what you know is what you know, and that's authentic.
Right.
And the other thing is, I agree with you so much that right now there's this inception point where people are so, and my experience has been that people are so sponge-worthy for
Sponge-worthy?
Yes.
What does that mean?
I mean, like they're so open to being sponges for listening and considering the option of they have innate knowledge that can rise up within them through their dreams, right? And the most fascinating and rewarding thing for me of publishing this book is the amount of people that I've come in contact with that are so eager to start journaling, start investigating, going inward and looking at, oh my goodness, you're right. There's something there that I really need to look at. And that's the culmination, for me, that's the huge reward right there. Just like you, I'm so grateful to you on so many levels. Number one, that you've been doing this show for so long, right? You've been committed to it. Number two, that you bring on a breadth of people into the conversation, and that you're so generous to invite people to show up. You're so generous because my experience out there in the world, there are a lot of gatekeepers. There's a lot of gatekeepers, and if you're not viewed as an authority, you're how could you be a dream authority? Well, I don't know. Everybody's a dream authority. We all a dream,
Totally, exactly.
Yeah, so it's like, and I just really appreciate, and I think that's why you've had the show for so long, and that you get such a breadth of people is because you're so generous and you're not a gatekeeper.
Well, I love to do it, and thank you. That is so sweet to hear you say that, Sandi. There is something about that, and I'd love to get that as well, to have people start to discover their own dreams. And when somebody comes and tells me a dream that doesn't usually write them down, I'm just really honored and excited.
I know, it's like the tally. There's one more, right? There's one more on our side.
Let's get those oranges eaten before they rot.
Exactly. Thank you.
That's beautiful. So Sandi, what is next? What have you been working on? I mean, I've heard some amazing things. You're like seed starter, you counselor, you had several careers, you've lived off the grid many times. Like I've gotten these little glimpses of your life. Where are you at now, and what's next?
I don't know, but I was just telling Carrie, I've always been, I call it a one-off person, I did that, and then I did this, and then, I had a nonprofit book donation organization. I did that for 10 years. in addition to a bunch of other things I was doing simultaneously. But whatever I just get curious about, I just, I'll dive into.
Right.
And so I don't know. I'm just always ready for new beginnings. And it was 12 years ago, I lost my husband, and that was like really devastating and a kind of a huge transformation in my life. And I, adapted and, started, like once again, like a whole new chapter.
Right.
And so at this point, I don't know. I'm invested in encouraging people any way that I can, just to start looking at their own ability to access innate information. I think it's just opportunity on the planet right now, and that's so needed for people to kind of go inside and figure out what's real for you and what, make those choices. Don't put your power in somebody else. Don't be giving it up to someone else. Like, look inside and start finding, what's your heart song.
Wow, beautiful words of wisdom. What's your heart song?
Yeah.
Thank you. This is Sandi Madison, and her book is called Diving Before Dawn, A Dream Exploration. And you can find out about her at sandimadison.com. Sandi spelled Sandi. Also on Instagram at Sandi Madison Author. And I think you've already given a really nice outro, but do you have any more words you want to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Bellingham,
Bellingham,
Washington.
right.
Yeah, that's where Carrie and I are from.
Elizabeth.
And I know that there's listeners from Bellingham because I've listened to Catherine's show for a while, and I always occasionally I'll hear that, and there's someone from Bellingham. So if you are in Bellingham, you can get my book at the library. There's several copies at the Whatcom County Library. Also, if you are interested in getting there's the ebook version you can get off of like Amazon. But if you want a paperback version, I highly recommend from my website. You can go to the Book Baby shop. That's who the publisher is Book Baby. If you go to Book Baby, I give you a $16 discount.
Oh wow!
So because it has so many color illustrations, and the book turned out really lovely.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and it's quality, so it costs more, but I didn't want people to have to spend that much. So I make $1 or $1.90 off the book. You know what I mean? So I'm very happy to give my royalty discount to. I just want people to access it, and if it has any impact on you, then that's wonderful.
Wow, Sandi, thank you so much. And I'll have information about that on the episode page, so you can look at how to get your discount, how to find the book. Thank you so much, Sandi.
Yeah, you're so welcome, Catherine.
All right. So thank you all for listening. The Dream Journal is produced at the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz, and we are live every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific at ksqd.org. The podcast is released on the Monday after the show. It spreads interest in dreaming when you subscribe, rate, and review. I am Catherine Bell. You can find out about my dream coaching practice at experientialdreamwork.com. You can email me at catherine@ksqd.org, KATHERINE. Follow Experiential Dreamwork and hashtag The Dream Journal on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn to keep up with the shows. I'd like to thank Rick Cluffel, engineer and music creator. Audio editing by Suki Wessling. Phones by Eric Nelson. Intro and outro pieces are both by Mood Science. And tomorrow morning when you wake up, take a minute to write down your dream and bring it to the next Dream Journal.